A new Overwatch update is on the PTR right now, and it's probably one of the most exciting Overwatch patch we will ever get. That's amazing news for Overwatch, since this new update, which will go live on PC and consoles the 13th of August, is finally bringing the World Queue feature we all heard about for so long. But that's not all. If you want to know everything that will be in this patch notes 139, their implications and consequences, and see the differences with the current version of the game, stay tuned. Between the new Hero 31 Sigma, some significant rework of Brigitte's and Symmetra's kit, and more balance changes and bug fixes, Overwatch will almost start anew next month, so let's be prepared for it. Alex here on Overwatch Limbo, bringing you a true community experience to learn, improve and grow together as better players. So if you're new here and want to keep up with Overwatch news, events and other workshop updates with no messing around, consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon to make sure to be notified of all my future content. Now let's start with Overwatch Patch 139 major update, World Queue. Heaps of videos entirely dedicated to this new feature are out there, so I'm just gonna do a quick recap here. Starting from August 13th, all matches in competitive and quick play will have 2-2-2 locked roles. Every player will be able to queue for 1, 2 or 3 roles at the same time, but queue times are different depending on the role. Damage has the longest queue time, while Tank the shortest. In-game, it's not possible to swap roles. You can just switch hero within your attributed role category. A beta competitive season will take place from August 13th to September 1st. Every player will have to do 5 placement matches for each role and will get a role-specific SR, but the skill rating and other stats obtained in the beta won't count for players next season, Season 18, that will start September 1st. I will publish in the next few days a guide to make the best out of that beta competitive season and make sure you're fully prepared and reach your true rank when World Queue lands, so don't forget to subscribe to not miss it. Next thing we need to talk about is Overwatch Hero 31 Sigma. We wanted a talent tank with a shield, and Blizzard granted the community's wish, delivering to us the darkest character of the whole Overwatch cast. Again, there's a tons of videos out there about Sigma, so I'm just gonna give you my first impressions on Overwatch new hero. Sigma is a low skill floor, high skill ceiling hero that will require quite some time to master. The learning curve is huge, and I doubt we'll see him in many competitive games for a while. Despite that, he seems well balanced and brings some nice combos and tactics to the table. Some tricks like the one named Sig9, where Sigmas uses his ult to lift player up and push the payload to the point, winning that wave around, might be fixed before the hero reach the live servers, but others like those will definitely be threats to look out for. Sigma seems to best pair up with Zarya, as confirmed also by game developer Joshua No on Seagull's stream, and together they work well to counter a bunker comp led by Orisa Hawk. And Sigma being vulnerable to mobility heroes and dive compositions, the game could even balance itself around the 3 main axes, bunker, dive, wall, but we'll talk about the best heroes and comps for next season later this summer. Before jumping into the bulk of the patch content and the balance changes, a few words on side features. Endorsement first. It will soon be possible to endorse player in most arcade modes, Mystery Heroes, No Limits, Deathmatch, Total Mayhem, Low Grav and all the PvE event game modes, Uprising, Retribution and Storm Rising. Also, still in Mystery Heroes, on control maps, heroes will be reset between rounds to avoid unwinnable and frustrating situations. On the other hand, Blizzard continues patch after patch to make the workshop better. Mod creators will be happy to hear that new strings have been added in order to track healing and detect players joining and leaving matches. Finally, in terms of bug fixes, the most noticeable one concerned charging heroes that will more consistently knock each other down when colliding. But here's the rest of the bug fixes implemented in all iterations released so far in the patch 139. Alright, let's get into the hero update part of the patch notes currently used on the PTR. The first thing to notice is the 12% increase to ultimate cost. This is actually a big deal, and will definitely change matches' economy. Think about it, a lot of players were able to tell whenever heroes would likely get their ult ready. Now they'll have to get used to them again. Some heroes that rely a lot on their ult to have an impact, like Sombra or Genji, got slightly nerfed with this change compared to other heroes like Mercy, whose ult doesn't really make that much of a difference in her plays. So this change will affect the resolution speed of the fights and maybe also reduce the amount of 2CP matches that end in the blink of an eye. The other general change concerns slowing effects that will no longer stack together. Movement speed will be reduced by whichever effect is slower, and this seems to be particularly useful for Reinhardt, whose movements are slower when holding his shield, and won't get any slower whenever a Seam turret is in range or when a Mei freezes him. Okay, let's look at the heroes now. And first off is Ashe. Her reload per round has been decreased from 0.3 seconds to 0.25, which is not that much for a single bullet, but it's definitely something you will feel for a full clip reload, since it takes 0.6 seconds less to get her gun fully loaded. Ashe was already fairly strong, this small buff makes her even more viable. Next in line is Brigitte, and Jeff Kaplan warned us many times in interviews, whenever wall Q comes in, Brigitte will have to be reworked to fit better into the 2-2-2 compositions. So here we go. Brigitte's revamp turns her focus more on healing and less on self-sustainability. So more healing with her passive Inspire for teammates but less for herself. More repair pack charges but less healing per pack and over 2 seconds instead of being instantaneous. And note that repair packs can't be stacked. They will just increase the duration of the healing effect by 2 seconds. So if you throw 3 repair packs at one hero, they will receive 60 HP per second for 6 seconds, for a total of 360 HP. Then Brigitte also gets a much easier to land whip shot that will make the passive healing more consistent, but also a drastic reduction of her barrier health from 500 to 200 and of her shield bash stun duration from 0.9 seconds to 0.75 that makes Brigitte a lot less tanky and much easier to kill. Finally, her ultimate cost has been increased by 10% on top of the general increase of 12%, which will push players to use Rally with more caution and preparation. Overall, Brigitte's massive changes will force players to adapt to a new playstyle, more conservative and healing oriented. Let's see if that rework will make her more useful than before in a 2-2-2 environment and good enough compared to other utility supports like Zen and Lucio. One guy who's been more impactful lately with bunker comp being meta is Doomfist. He works well against low mobility tanks like Orisa and Hog and therefore has been played a lot more. In this patch, Doomfist receives a small buff that allows him to melee without interrupting his reload, as well as a bunch of quality of life bug fixes that are also making him a tad stronger, especially the newly acquired ability to rocket punch Zarya while being bubbled, and Zen in trance should be particularly useful. Next up is D.Va. Our favorite mecha pilot has been nerfed so much this year in order to kill goats that she's really difficult to work with now. Maybe that's why the devs reversed the general change to ultimate cost by giving her a cost decrease of same value, 12%. She's the only hero that will keep getting her ult at the same speed as before, and knowing the value and importance of a well-placed D.Va bomb against a bunker, it makes perfect sense to keep it that way. Hanzo, on the other hand, got a nerf. Nothing big, just a reduction to the Storm Arrow's ammo from 6 to 5, which doesn't exactly address what people have been complaining about, but reduced the maximum damage he can deal in one volley and thus should make him less oppressive to tanks. Talking about the big guys, 3 tanks have been modified in this patch 139. First is the Queen of the Meta. Since the community has been ranting about Orisa's position and her infinite shield, the devs decided to increase her protective barrier cooldown of 1 second, which should definitely help players destroy tough bunkers. Then there's Reinhardt, who's not doing so well now and has been tossed around by all the CC's abilities for a long time without being able to do anything. So starting from August 13th, with his new passive ability named Steadfast, Reinhardt will be able to reduce knockback effects on him by 30%, which doesn't feel much to be honest, but is better than nothing. A feeling that is probably shared by Wrecking Ball players after the slight buff made to his minefield. Indeed, having the mines being able to spread out more and activating faster clearly makes Hammond's ults deadlier, but we can't really say this change will make people pick him more. And talking about low peak rate, Sombra also received a buff and nerf in this patch. The hack of enemy players is 1 second faster now, and EMP activation time has been increased from 0.2 seconds to 0.35. Changes that should help her have more consistent impact in fights and not rely so much on her ult, but also, like all the other ultimates except Divas, won't be ready as fast as before. Now, before getting to Symmetra's teleporter changes, let's have a quick word on Tracer Pulse Bomb increased damage. Does it make really much difference? Yes and no. It won't be enough to take down a full health tank, but it will be useful against armored boosted DPS like Mei and Reaper. The developers note that it will help deal with some target like Bastion, which means that it's another small tweak to make Bucker comp a little less overwhelming. Last hero to talk about is Sim. The change to her teleporter feels almost like another rework, since players will have to modify their playstyle to adapt to its new functionalities. Now Symmetra's teleporter will last infinitely until it's destroyed, but Sim can destroy her own teleporter, a bit like Torb with his turret, except that no matter how it is destroyed, for now she gets a full cooldown of 12 seconds before being able to reuse it, which could seem a bit restrictive at first, but it is a necessary limitation to what could be otherwise an overpowered ability. Sim's mains are still debating at the moment of the value of this change. Some like it and praise Blizzard for listening to players, others hate it and want the old teleporter back. Will Sim get picked more from now on? Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, I'm really curious to know what you think about these patch balance changes, Sigma and the upcoming role queue. Vote for your favorite new feature in the poll up here and tell me in the comments below which heroes should be buffed or nerfed in the next patch to fit better in the new Overwatch 222 locked role system. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your friends. You'll help the channel a ton. And if you're interested in Overwatch news like who could be the next hero or what are the best workshop modes, check out those videos right here and consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon to make sure to be notified of all my future content. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember losties, losers are not your mind.